So a gar, what does that mean?
Well, let's show you.
Okay.
Today, we actually got to hold and release two of the rarest fishes in Canada.
Hi everyone, my name's Emily Febry. I'm also known as Ranger M. I'm an environmental communicator and educator, and I get to talk to a lot of different people about all things nature and conservation. I love to knowledge share, and that's what I want to do with you. So come on, let's go learn with Ranger M. Today we're at the McLean Conservation Lands, where we're going to meet up with Craig from St. Clair Region Conservation Authority and Dominique, who are doing this really cool research project here. So let's grab some waders and let's go. Well, thanks for joining me today, Craig. It's nice to see you again. Thanks for joining again. And Dominique, thank you for having me here. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, Dominique?
Yeah, sure. I am a master's student at the University of Toronto, and I am very lucky to be here today because I am working with St. Clair Region Conservation Authority and Craig on a wonderful project.
Awesome. And Craig, we've seen you with some turtles before, but you're here with fish today.
Yeah, mixing it up a little.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Craig and Dominique, what are we doing here in a wetland?
So this didn't actually used to be a wetland. So in 2018, if you were standing here, you'd be standing in corn.
Wow, that's very different than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So obviously it's a restoration project. How many acres are you working on? Like, are you restoring a big chunk of it? I can kind of see still a bit of farm field, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to work, the conservation is always trying to still work with the farmers, with having the best of both worlds, some agriculture, and then also retiring some areas that were flooding a lot and were really awkward to use.
Okay, so obviously getting very wet. What's kind of like the importance of restoring these wetlands in this area?
So you kind of want to like zoom out a little bit and look at the provinces itself. So circa 1800, so pre-settlement, there was about 2 million hectares of wetlands in Southern Ontario.
Wow.
In 2002, there was some work done by Ducks Unlimited that showed that there is about 560,000 hectares left. So that's a reduction of 1.4 million hectares of wetland, or about 72%. So it's a huge change on the landscape. So projects like this are sort of trying to restore the balance and claiming some of the land back for nature.
Definitely important as we see more development happen in our rural areas as well. So that's awesome. And I think you said 7 acres you're restoring already?
Yeah, so I mean, it seems small in the grand scale of things, but
awesome.
yeah, this sort of the area that we're standing in now, yeah, is about 7 acres.
So that's great work. Is this area, like this property, really important to wildlife? Is that why you're kind of restoring it?
Yeah, so Rondeau Bay in general is a provincially significant wetland, and it lays home to many different kind of species at risk, whether it be birds or fishes or turtles and lots others. So we're very excited today to actually be studying lots of the fishes that live here that are at risk.
Do you mind showing me some of the fish you've seen today?
Yeah, of course. Let's go.
Awesome. Did you know Lake Erie is the most biologically diverse of all of the Great Lakes? The lake is home to 107 different fish species and is known as the walleye capital of the world. Did you know Lake Erie is the most biologically diverse of all of the Great Lakes? The lake is home to 107 different fish species and is known as the walleye capital of the world. So obviously, while that drive was beautiful, lots of biodiversity in this area. It must be awesome to work here every day.
For really sure. Is.
Yeah. So what is your focus while you're working here? What animals are you focusing on?
I'm here focusing on fishes, and in particular, we're looking at the endangered spotted gar.
So a gar, what does that mean?
Well, let's show you.
Okay. So what makes it a gar? Obviously very long.
Yeah, of course. So the first thing that we tend to see in a lot of gars is this body shape. So it's very elongate, and it's very oval, kind of like a baseball bat. And it's really hard to tell from here, but if you just touch the scales of a gar, you'll notice they're very hard. So spotted gar and long-nosed gar have ganoid scales, which are almost made of bones. So just like you and I would have bones, their scales are made of bone.
Oh, cool. I bet that helps them.
Yeah, and then the last thing we can look at to tell that it's a gar is their beautiful snout. This guy seems to be hiding theirs at the moment, but they have a very nice, almost like an alligator snout.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell that it's a gar.
Okay. I assume a lot of people think it's like a pike species.
Yeah, so a lot of people actually do refer to these as gar pikes, but that's not actually true. These are gar, which are in a different family than the pikes.
Neat. So what makes these guys kind of so vulnerable that they're at risk?
We do. Unfortunately, the spotted gar are at risk largely due to a lot of the human activities that we do. So mainly their two risks are because we destroy or alter their habitat, and then the second one being that we pollute their habitat. So as we just saw, there's a lot of farmland around here. A lot of the pesticides and the things we use on the farms will wash into the waters and pollute the waters. And as we actually just learned, we took away quite a bit of their land to farm.
Okay.
So unfortunately, they do not have a lot of habitat left. They only exist in 3 coastal wetlands along the coast of Lake Erie. So we're in one of them, Rondeau Bay.
Cool.
The other 2 are Point Pelee National Park and Long Point Bay. So they have a very narrow habitat range.
So you said that there's 2 species of gar in Ontario. What's the other one?
The other one is a long-nosed gar.
I think we should compare them. So side by side, they already look similar. This is the spotted. You can see the spotted, but wow, they're very similar.
Yeah, so the main 2 ways you can tell them apart. One, as you just mentioned, the spots. As you can see, our spotted gar has beautiful spotting along its snout and also along all of its fins around its body. But the main way we tell them apart is through their snout. So as you can see, spotted gar has a very short and wide snout in comparison to our long-nosed gar, which has a very long and almost needle-like nose.
So having them out obviously could harm them, no? Or
Yeah.
they're fine, but
So most fish you definitely want to keep in water, but the one very cool thing about gars is that they can actually gulp air.
oh,
So just like you and I, they have a modified lung and they can actually gulp air and get oxygen that way too. So it's okay for them to be
Oh.
out of water for just a few minutes.
that is neat. And do the spotted gar look the same from like, a baby stage? Do they always have spots and stuff?
Not quite. And it's very interesting you ask that because you can't actually tell long-nosed and spotted gar apart
Oh, okay.
when they are very young. So they can be a few centimeters long and you actually can't tell them apart. So you actually have to take a little thin clip and analyze it genetically to figure out what species they are.
Wow. Is the long nose at risk as well?
Nope. They're doing very well, and they do tend to exist in a lot of other areas in Ontario than the spotted gar. And that's one thing that we're not actually sure why.
Oh, interesting. Do you catch other fish while you're out and about?
We do, and we have some other cool fish to show you as well.
Well, let's check them out. So what's this little guy?
This is a fish in the sunfish family, and this is a warmouth, another species at risk.
Is it similar to the gar, where it's just like the loss of habitat and pollution that's kind of affecting these ones?
Yeah, so the really interesting thing about warmouth is they actually tend to be found in the same areas as spotted gar, so they do have a very similar distribution where they live. And as a result, unfortunately, they do suffer from a lot of the same stressors that spotted gar do.
Why does it have the name warmouth?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact reason, but one thing you will notice that actually differentiates this fish from a lot of other fishes in the sunfish family is its nice big mouth.
So it's a battle cry. It needs a big mouth, I
I
guess.
think so.
Well, that's really cool. It's a relatively small fish, or is this just like a young fish?
This would be a younger fish, but I would say they would grow to approximately the largest we've caught them is around 15 to 20 centimeters. They probably do get a bit bigger, but we haven't caught them here.
So you guys focus on the gar mostly, but what do you do when you find fish, like other species? Do you kind of like catalog it, make note of it kind of thing?
Yeah, so any species that we catch, we take a picture of them, we measure how long they are, and then we just release them back into the water to live their lives.
Since you're finding these species at risk, do you think it's connected to the restoration work that's happening at the lands here, or is that something you're looking into kind of thing?
Yeah, so my work is actually just starting. So I'm conducting something called a before-after control impact study. It's a very long word, but to break it down, Let's start by explaining the control and impact side of things. So we have sites that are beautiful and look like a wetland, kind of what we're sitting in right now. And they're very good positive control sites, and we're happy and we like to see fish like this, and we expect that. Then we also can compare that to sites that are impacted. So sites that we see have a lot of pollution or have had a lot of habitat alteration. So those stressors to our species at risk. And what we're doing right now is doing the before part. So we're measuring those control and impacted sites before the restoration work has actually happened. And then what we'll do after the work has happened is we'll come back in and do the same measurements in the same areas, and then we'll know if it's working.
Cool. So it's pretty lucky that all of this project happened then, right? Like to be the perfect site for your project in a way.
Exactly, and it's actually something that the restoration field is missing right now. So unfortunately, we do a lot of really good restoration work, but we don't monitor as often, especially beforehand. And so we don't actually know if what we're doing is helping, and if we're returning our ecosystems and beautiful wetlands to what they once were.
So you're saying a large part of your project and these projects in a whole is monitoring them. So obviously you were saying that one of the things you do is monitor the fish and you measure them. What's the importance of getting that information? Like, what does measuring tell you? Measuring fish.
So fish are nice and easy in the sense that just like you and I, when they get older, they keep growing. And so a larger fish has been around much longer in general. So we measure all of our fish, and then we'll compare at our different sites and before and after restoration to see what kind of age classes or what age our fish are that are using these different areas and whether it differs between them.
Well, that's great. Can you show me how to measure?
Of course, let's get you doing some measuring.
Okay. Did you know about 80% of Lake Erie's water enters through the Detroit River, and most of the water exits through Niagara Falls, which connects Lake Erie and Lake Ontario? Did you know about 80% of Lake Erie's water enters through the Detroit River, and most of the water exits through Niagara Falls, which connects Lake Erie and Lake Ontario? So Craig, this is a different species. What is this one?
Yeah, so this little guy is one people might recognize from fishing off their docks. This is a pumpkin seed, so it's another fish that's in the sunfish family.
So this is a sunfish, so similar to the warmouth in sense of family, but it looks a little bit different. I can see it has that little orange dot. Is that where it gets its pumpkin seed name?
Yeah, that's where the name comes from. So that the little black area there is the sciencey term is the operculum, referred to as the ear flap or gill cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that little orange spot kind of gets you there.
Okay. Neat. So, measuring this guy.
Yeah, so we're going to start with sort of the easy level cooperative fish, which is the pumpkin seed. So if you want to just slide him out.
Spiky guy.
So that's it. Yeah. Put the nose right up against the board and just place your hand over top to make sure it doesn't squirm away like that.
Calm down.
And then just pinch the two sail lobes together.
Oh, it goes down. Okay.
And then you get your measurement.
156 millimeters.
Nice. And then you can release him.
Be free. Well, this is a bigger fish.
Yeah, so now we're going to go up to the next level of fish measuring.
What's this guy?
So this is also in the sunfishes family. This is known as a black crappie, so a really popular fish amongst anglers.
Okay.
Yeah, same again.
219.
Perfect.
There's. All right, this one can go too?
Sure.
Okay. So this guy's obviously much bigger, almost comparable to the gar in size, no? Like lengthwise.
Yeah. So this is one of the coolest fish, in my opinion, that you'll find in wetlands. This is the last remaining species of a group of fishes that evolved 200 million years ago.
So are they a species at risk?
No. So what's unique about the bowfin is that they're one of the species that we would expect to find in an ecosystem like this.
So I see a lot of kind of identifying features. It's very brightly colored on the bottom and his tail. And then they've got these little things.
So those are little like protrusions or sensory organs.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And then the green, so you can actually tell if this is a guy fish or a girl fish.
Oh.
So this one is male, and you can tell that with the beautiful green. These are spawning colors, so they sort of put on display.
Like birds, I guess.
Yeah, and then also there's a spot back here, just on the caudal fin, the tail fin, and the orange border indicates that it's a male, whereas the females, it's just black.
Just black. So obviously this guy's bigger, so I imagine he's going to be a bit more harder to measure.
Absolutely. This, on the scale of uncooperative, this one hits a 10.
Cool. Let's do it.
Give it a go. So head there. Watch now, I'll go for it. So then pin there.
Okay.
Hold him like that. You got it? Nice
Yes.
pin. And then we do the measurement.
Is this a team effort, these fish?
552.
Okay.
Definitely a team effort.
It was very pretty, though. You can see it even more now. Awesome. Does he go back now?
You can release.
Okay, be free. So, getting the gar back out to give it a measure. These ones seem just as long as the bowfin, but much more calm.
Yeah, they're a lot more cooperative.
About 642.
Yeah.
Big guys. Did they get much longer?
Yeah, we've caught some in the 700s.
Wow, that's awesome. So how do you kind of make sure you're not catching the same ones, or if you are catching the same ones?
Yeah, so there's a really unique tool that biologists use. It's something called a pit tag, which is a passive integrated transponder. So it's a tag that we can surgically insert into the fish, and it acts as a barcode.
Okay.
So this here is the reader, and to test it, we would press read and scan, and then we get a code. And there's a unique identifier for each tag that we put in each fish.
Okay, cool. Does this guy have a tag?
Let's find out.
Okay.
And then, yeah, you're just gonna, so the tags are fitted just on this fin here. So if you just hold over and scan, a little ants.
Oh, no tag.
So no tag. Yeah, so this one isn't a recapture.
Okay. So it has no tag. Is that a good thing, finding kind of these new fish, or do you want to see more returning fish?
Yeah, so the goal is to sort of track where the fish are moving.
Mm-hmm.
So they can come in from the lakes and come into these drainage areas, into these wetlands. But also really importantly is we want to see if they're going to start to use the new restoration area that we're building.
Awesome. So are you guys going to pit tag this gar, or are you going to, is it just released? Why does this not have a tag?
So we pit tag 20 per drain.
Oh, okay. Just kind of gives you a good representative number kind of thing?
Yeah, it doesn't have too much of an impact on the population, and also it's cost effective.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for showing me all these fish. I'm guessing you don't use line and hook all day long to try and catch these fish.
Definitely not, no.
No. How do you catch them all?
So we actually use something called a fike net, which is known as a passive gear type. So we set the nets, they sit there for 24 hours, and they collect fish.
So how does the net work? How did the fish get in it without getting out?
So we kind of take advantage of behavior that fish like to do. So they tend to follow shorelines. So we set the lead line perpendicular to shore, and the fish head in, hit the line, and then naturally follow it to the compartments that get a little bit smaller and smaller, and then they're stuck inside.
Okay. Obviously, you don't just catch gar. We saw a lot of fish today, which I'm assuming came from the net. But you catch other things, I'm assuming, as well?
Yeah, so whenever you're doing work with fishes in wetlands, you're always going to come by turtle friend.
Oh, that's awesome. A little painted.
Yeah.
Do you see many other different types?
Yeah, so actually here we've captured painted turtle, snapping turtle, Blanding's turtle,
Oh, cool.
stinkpot, so the musk turtle, map turtle, and even the endangered eastern spiny softshell.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah,
To
sure.
find all that in one spot.
Yeah.
So definitely your cutest bycatch.
Definitely.
That's awesome. So you said you keep them up for 24 hours, but a turtle can't stay underwater for 24 hours. So how did they do in your nets?
Yeah, so we actually add buoys or floats to the nets to create these little air pockets.
Oh, always thinking of the turtles.
Always.
Thanks for showing me all these fun critters. Can I release this guy?
Absolutely.
All right. Be free. Did you know in the Chatham-Kent region, 98.5% of wetlands were lost between pre-settlement and 2002? Did you know in the Chatham-Kent region, 98.5% of wetlands were lost between pre-settlement and 2002? Well, Dominique and Craig, thanks so much for touring me around this whole property. I think it's so cool what you guys are doing with the Gar and what is happening here as a whole. Must be a very fun place to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really unique spot. So in the 50s, this all used to be coastal wetland.
Oh, wow.
And then they created berms and they pumped it and drained it and used it as agriculture. And now we finally get to return it back to what it used to be.
Wow, that must be very valuable work to yourself, feel good moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dominique. It was so nice to meet you and hear about your research project and everything.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. I hope you enjoyed today. We actually got to hold and release 2 of the rarest fishes in Canada, which I think is a pretty good day.
That is a good day to me. Thank you guys so much.
Take care.
Before wrapping up this episode, I wanted to let you know that Dominique has actually written a children's book about her work on the Spotted Gar. As of right now, it'll only be available on Amazon, and I'm not sure of the release date, but when I do know, when she lets me know, I'll post it on my social media pages, so keep an eye on those. Part of the proceeds from selling each book will actually go to habitat restoration and stewardship for aquatic species at risk. So when you purchase a book, you could help fund a wetland, monitoring work, or even just nothing better than helping prevent the extinction of some of these most valuable wildlife species. The book is called Finding a Forever Home. A rare spotted gar must search far and wide in the scary underwater world to find a forever home. Along the way, the spotted gar overcomes many fears and becomes friends with other rare species at risk living in the underwater world. The spotted gar's search for a forever home is not without obstacles. Luckily, a few biologists discover a creative way for the spotted gar to thrive. For teachers, this is a very educational book to add to your libraries. For community members and parents, this is an adorable book, as well as you could support a local research student. I know I'm going to get one. Since filming this episode, I have reconnected with Dominique and Craig and learned that they found and recorded over 450 spotted gar fish from the McLean's conservation lands. As well as restoration has continued at the conservation lands, and currently they're actually working to eradicate the invasive species called Phragmites. We have spoken about this species on the TV show before, but just to kind of go over it again, it is a very invasive species. You could actually see it behind us when we were in the boat. It's a very tall, kind of grass-like species, and when it gets into a habitat, it really takes over and creates what's called a monoculture. And it's very bad for native aquatic species, but as well as animals. It actually grows in such a dense population, very close together, that even animals like turtles and muskrats can't actually get through the Phragmites to get to the pond or the water. So it's very detrimental, and they're working right now to eradicate it. So thanks again for joining me, and until next time, see you in nature.